I never thought the lowest moment of my life would start with something so small it barely made a sound. Just my voice cracking as I said, "Hey, excuse me, could you help me for a second?" Nobody stopped. That's the part people don't like hearing, but it's the truth. I was standing outside a grocery store with one suitcase, one phone at 4%, and a face that screamed problem to anyone who didn't want one. I wasn't drunk, I wasn't yelling, I wasn't asking for money. I just looked tired, broke, and inconvenient. And to a lot of people, that's enough to make you invisible. You know what I mean? I'd been there before. Being judged without a word. Being sized up in half a second and dismissed. But that day hit different because I had nowhere else to go. No backup plan, no safety net. Just me, my pride, and the quiet realization that if I didn't figure something out soon, I was going to sleep on that sidewalk. I used to have a normal life. A job. Friends. A name people respected. Then, a layoff turned into months. Months turned into debt, and debt turned into everyone treating me like I was contagious. Even my own family stopped calling. Funny how silence gets louder the more you need someone. So there I was outside that store watching people grab groceries and walk past me like I was a stain on the pavement. I finally locked eyes with a man in a tailored coat, probably late 40s, confident walk expensive watch. He looked like someone who always got listened to. I stepped forward and said, "Sir, I just need to ask you something real quick." He didn't even slow down, didn't look at me. Just said sorry can't help like I was a pop-up ad. That was the moment something in me snapped. Not anger, not yet. Just this deep, quiet humiliation. The kind that sinks into your chest and sits there heavy. I sat down on my suitcase and laughed. Not because it was funny, but because sometimes laughing is the only thing stopping you from breaking apart in public. I remember thinking, wow, this is what rock bottom actually feels like. No drama. Just emptiness. That's when the twist showed up. A woman came out of the store arguing on the phone, clearly annoyed, clearly important in her own world. She almost tripped over my suitcase and snapped, "You can't just sit there." I looked up at her and said calm as I could, "I'm sorry. I'll move." She paused, really looked at me. Not like the others. And for a second I thought she might apologize. Instead, she said, "You people are always blocking the way." You people. Something about those words lit a fuse I didn't know I still had. I stood up, brushed off my jacket, and said, "You don't know anything about me." She scoffed. "I know enough." That's when I smiled. Not a friendly smile, a tired one. "No," I said, "you really don't?" She rolled her eyes and walked off muttering something about security. And I stood there thinking, okay, if this is how the world wants to see me, then fine. But I'm done shrinking to fit their assumptions. Because here's the thing nobody tells you. When you've already lost everything, fear loses its grip. There's a strange freedom in that. I picked up my suitcase and walked back inside the store. Heads turned. A couple employees watched me like I was about to steal something. One guy whispered into his headset. I walked straight to customer service and said I need to speak to a manager. The young woman behind the counter hesitated. About what? About how I was just treated outside by one of your regulars, I said loud enough for people nearby to hear. Now everyone was listening. The manager came over, arms crossed, already defensive. What seems to be the issue? I told him exactly what happened. Calm. Clear. No exaggeration. The woman in the tailored coat was still nearby, watching with that smug look people get when they think they're untouchable. She interrupted me mid-sentence. "This is ridiculous. He's just causing a scene." I turned to her and said, "You called me you people. What did you mean by that?" The store went quiet. She opened her mouth, then closed it. "I didn't mean anything by it." "That's interesting," I said. "Because when people say that to me, they usually mean exactly what they're thinking." The manager shifted uncomfortably. He asked her to step aside. She huffed, offended, like she was the victim now. That's when the real turn happened. A man in the back of the store spoke up. "She does this all the time." Another voice followed. "Yeah, she's rude to everyone she thinks is beneath her." You could feel the air change. Power doesn't disappear all at once, it cracks. The manager cleared his throat. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." Her face went red. "Do you know who I am?" And I swear the manager said the most satisfying thing I've heard in my life. "Right now, you're a customer who violated our conduct policy." She stormed out heels, clicking dignity leaking with every step. I stood there, shaking adrenaline buzzing through me. Not because I'd won some huge victory, but because for the first time in a long time, I hadn't swallowed the disrespect. I'd said something. After that, the manager surprised me. He asked if I was okay. Really okay. He offered me a chair, a bottle of water, even asked if I needed help finding resources. No pity, just human decency. I left the store feeling 10 pounds lighter. Still broke, still uncertain, but different, stronger. That night I slept on a friend's couch, a real couch, with a blanket. And as I stared at the ceiling, I realized something important. The world didn't change because I stood up for myself. I did. A few weeks later, I landed a short-term contract. Nothing glamorous, but enough to get back on my feet. I started rebuilding, slowly, quietly. And then, life being life, I ran into her again. Same woman, same coat. This time, at a networking event I was attending for work. She didn't recognize me at first. I had a badge, a purpose, a seat at the table. When she finally did recognize me, her eyes widened. Just a flicker, but I saw it. She leaned over and said, "So, looks like things worked out for you." I smiled. They did. Once I stopped letting other people decide my worth. She nodded stiffly and walked away. No apology, no acknowledgement. But I didn't need it, because the win wasn't embarrassing her. The win was knowing that no matter how low I get knocked down again, I don't disappear. If you've ever been judged by your appearance, your bank account, your worst moment, I want you to hear this. You are not what people assume. And sometimes the moment you stop begging for dignity and start claiming it, everything shifts. So tell me this in the comments. Was I right to speak up, or should I have stayed quiet and moved on? Where do we draw the line between keeping the peace and defending ourselves? And have you ever had a moment where someone underestimated you and regretted it later?